pretty good, gotta say.
Welcome to Unscripted with Kirby Hasseman and Bill Petrie. In this weekly podcast, Kirby and Bill talk about the world of marketing, branding, and promotional products. Unscripted is available only at promocorner.com, the leader in digital marketing for the promotional products industry. Now, here's Kirby and Bill.
And welcome to episode number 196 of Unscripted. I am your co-host, Bill Petrie. With me, as always, the lieutenant of lunch bags, low-profile embroidered caps, letter openers, and all things embossed and debossed in leather. At least that's what he tells me off the air, people. The one and only Kirby Hasseman. Kirby, how the hell are you?
I am doing, considering everything, I'm doing really well. I'm trying to find... I had somebody say the other day that they don't like the term new normal, to which I say, I guess tough shit, because I use it all the time. This is my new normal. I'm getting used to that. And so in those ways, I think I'm doing all right. How are you, bud?
I'm doing okay. We're muddling through, I think, like the rest of us, and just trying to keep marching forward. I do believe, especially as a society, humans are purpose-driven, and so I'm keeping my head down and keep pushing out content and keep the machine rolling, and blessed to be working with my great team here, and so we just keep pushing forward, and so things are really good. But you know what else is good, Kirby?
What's that, Bill?
Oh, I'm so glad you knew to ask. It's our good pals over at Next Level Apparel. It wasn't about reinventing the wheel, Kirby. It's about revolutionizing it, and they have declared 2020. They've transformed the industry's tubular tee by combining art and science to create the 1800 unisex ideal heavyweight tee. Nice. And so their vision here, Kirby, and I know how much you love the soft fabrics that they use over there at Next Level. You wear a lot of Next Level shirts, not today, but you do. Mm-hmm. The vision was to create a tubular tee that offers an elevated fit. It's made of soft fabric that we just talked about, an everyday function inspired by streetwear, skatewear, surfwear, and workwear. And I know, like I said, you love those T-shirts.
I do. And again, we've talked about it. I mean, at the end of the day, when your end users come to you and say, hey, this is the brand of T-shirt, that had never happened to me before Next Level. So there's a special place in my heart for those comfy tees.
Absolutely. And every cut, every thread, and every person has come together in the organization to make this durable heavyweight cotton tee the new benchmark in streetwear fit and workwear function. You don't want to miss out on this tee, so go ahead and visit our good pals over at nextlevelapparel.com. Kirby, will they be sorry that they did?
They will not be sorry they did.
I didn't think so. Kirby, I want to thank you for having the courage to perform this podcast in your basement. It is most appreciated. So as we get rolling this morning, I always ask at the top of the podcast, how the hell are you? It's kind of a signature little thing we've done from day one. I don't know why. Right. But I don't think we do this enough these days, so I'm just going to ask again. So Kirby, how are you really doing? How are you? How is your family? It's easy to what we talked about earlier. We march ahead, we forge ahead, but we're also emotional creatures too. How are you doing? How are you really doing? How's Amy? How's the family?
I appreciate that very much, actually. I think I'm doing well. I think you mentioned the idea of being purpose-driven. I think the thing that I've done pretty well is early on gone, okay, what can I do? Yeah. I think there's so much about this situation that is unknown and uncontrollable, and I think that's the part that can be incredibly stressful. Yeah. Quickly. You and I talked about it early. I'm like, okay, I'm going to double down on content because that's something I can do.
Well, it's something in control too, right?
Right, exactly. The other piece, reality is, spending time on the finance side. That's the part that stresses me on a regular basis. Sure. So I'm working to try and shore that up. From the kids, I actually think the girls, girls have been really good and resilient. I mean, certainly we all have our moments. Amy has been up and down a little bit because I think, we want to be productive, but it's like you feel guilty for being productive. You feel guilty for not being productive. So I think overall we're doing really well considering. So I appreciate you asking, but how about same back at you, buddy? How are things with you guys?
Probably not dissimilar. We're all kind of waiting to see how this resolves not resolves itself. I think it's going to take a lot of work to resolve it, and obviously, and when I say it, I mean the whole. You can talk. It can mean the economy. It can mean the actual virus itself. It can mean everybody's mental health as they go through being sheltered at home. So I think we'll get through this from a family perspective. It's challenging at times. I have 17-year-old twin boys who, their school year's effectively over as juniors in high school, and they are struggling. They're kind of tired of playing Xbox and cleaning the house and doing things at home. They're not home. They're not really homeschooling in where I live. They're kind of They really can't, just because the school district is so big and not everybody has the same opportunities. Not everybody has internet. I still do live in Tennessee, and it's a county-based school system, and there's plenty of remote places in my county that just don't have internet access, or they don't have computers, and so they can't offer that level of learning for everybody. I think we kind of try to avoid the news. I think we try to get outside and enjoy the fresh air and try to do some of the simple things in life and keep forward. And for me professionally, I'm just throwing myself into work. I'm here every day. At 6:30 in the morning, and I might be a little more casual with a hat or something like that, because I'm not having as many meetings. But just throwing myself into the great work we're doing here at Promo Corner.
Yeah, I think one of the things you just mentioned is getting outside. I think one of the struggles we had early in the week is we were having very March-like Ohio weather, and yesterday, as we record this, it was really nice out yesterday.
Yep.
And I think that was a boost for the whole community. Like, people were out just walking around doing the social distancing thing, but fresh air, when you haven't had it for months, wow, does that inspire.
Well, and I saw you were on your own personal back 40 last night, enjoying the outside, stealing my little moniker from my backyard, which is absolutely fine, by the way, because I stole from someone else, I'm sure. It's great.
It was pretty out there.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I actually put in my calendar this morning a reminder every day to get out and walk around. I'm still coming to the office right now. That will probably end here shortly, as we I probably need to not do that, but there's nobody working here at this point, so it really is kind of my own shelter in place. But we'll probably be making those changes, so I need to remind myself to get outside and not just because right now work is crazy. I'm busy with stuff. So.
Yeah, it's a funny thing you said that, because I literally, after lunch yesterday, was just like, it's pretty out. I'm going to go walk the dog.
Yeah.
Because especially when you're working from home, when in my normal, I will go to lunch and take the time to get away from my desk. When I'm here, one of the reasons I have an office, and I think you and I have talked about this personally, but I don't know if we've ever talked about it on the podcast. I was afraid, because I was such a crappy college student, that I was really bad. And so I thought, if I work from home, I'm never going to work.
Yeah.
And what I found was the exact opposite. I worked all the time.
No, and same experience. I always joke that Texas A&M, which I'm wearing their hat right now, Texas A&M invited me to pursue academic excellence elsewhere for a semester, because I maybe had a really good time one year in college. But we'll talk about that another time. But yeah, I had the same fear, and when I work from home, I find that if I'm a little bored or something pops in my mind, well, I'll just go handle that right now.
Right.
And so you end up working more. No, I totally get that. I totally get that perspective. So I just wanted to see how you were doing. So
Thanks,
glad
man.
you're doing okay.
Yeah. So my turn?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay. Well, so you and I yesterday did sort of an impromptu live unscripted piece.
A live podcast, and we probably will do more. I think it's good. I think we got some good reception, but go ahead.
Yeah, so we did. So I wanted to. This can kind of go wherever it goes. We did this, and so there was a topic that we covered, but I thought it was worth circling back. But I think it's worth saying that one of the things I've found in the industry is that we're a resilient and creative bunch.
We are,
and like this idea of the promo show. So I'll give the sort of the shout out. I have hopped on that several times. You guys at Promo Corner have created this opportunity for us to connect virtually.
Right.
That's what we were doing yesterday. And that was really cool. Yeah. And that leads me to sort of just to give shout outs to PPAI and ASI. We talked about that yesterday. And so I don't want to belabor the point, but I've been so impressed with the leadership of our industry, kind of saying, look, it's a thing, it's a challenge, but here's how we're dealing with it. It's the kind of leadership I'd like to see in other areas, quite honestly. But I want to give that shout out because I think that you and I are candid in our criticism many times.
Yep.
And I'm proud of that, quite honestly.
Yep.
But I also want to give shout out when I'm like, I am so glad the people who are in charge of PPAI, not only Paul, his team, the board, I'm so glad they're in charge. They're doing such a good job.
No question. So a couple things. You touched on a couple of topics there. One is the promo show, and I want to be really clear on this. That is Joel Moore. What you see there, 90% of it, 95% of it is Joel Moore. It's something he has been, I think, rattling around his very intelligent coding brain for quite some time. And then I think it's been, I know it's been there because he and I've talked about it from time to time. Right. And then you get into a point where desperate times call for desperate measures, and he decided to go ahead and execute that. And so I was here on the weekend coming up with here's what the rollout plan looks like, here's what the marketing would look like, suggesting how the layout and things like this. But I mean, honestly, that's Joel coding that and making it happen. And I don't want the credit for it. I don't deserve the credit for it. There's teamwork in there. Don't get me wrong. Brandon's in the promo corner booth every day working, and the process is very manual right now, and we're hoping to automate that shortly. So I'm doing a lot of that part and helping support Joel and certainly Brandon, and we'll be getting through it. But yeah, it's a great idea. But then you talk about the leadership at the industry level. At the PPAI, no question, and honestly, I want to talk a little bit about that later.
Sure,
there's a tease, but yeah, the leadership that has been shown there and has been pretty impressive. And we are a resilient bunch, and I'd like to think there's a lot of other industries that are experiencing what you and I are experiencing. They're figuring out, okay, what do we do? How do we do? Let's do.
Right. Well, and again, there are other places. I know Common Skew, who's often a sponsor of this, they're creating online communities as well. Yep. You and I have hopped on just to have a cocktail or two. I think that I've just been impressed across the board. Don't get me wrong, there's certainly complaining and just like there normally is, but I actually see less of it. Right now. I think people are truly trying to help each other get through this. And just, again, wanted to give that shout out to the folks in leadership. So well done. Good
stuff. No, I think that's great. So, I think I said a week, maybe 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, we don't want this podcast to become the coronavirus industry podcast.
Or the Kavona.
Whatever. But I mean, honestly, it's a topic. So I want to ask you as a distributor, and you may not have an answer for this, so this may be an incredibly short topic. What are you seeing demand for right now in terms of products? Obviously, there's a lot of events have been canceled, so you're not seeing any of that type of stuff. What are you seeing? Just a couple products you're seeing right now.
Absolutely. So, I mean, the obvious one is hand sanitizer. People are still asking for that on a regular basis. I'm getting requests almost daily for that. And at this point, I'm just like, no, we can't do it. The other one that I just had an issue trying to deliver yesterday, digital thermometers.
Yeah.
Again, with employers working on the health and safety of their employees. And then the other piece is just signage. Yeah. Signage that whether we're still doing a lot of design work for signage, even if people are printing it themselves. Yeah. Right. And so Josh Robbins actually talked about the demand for that still going strong for Vault. So those are just off the top of my head. Those are three.
Yeah, I think you're seeing. I'm gonna throw the hand sanitizers out. Obviously, that's not. But I appreciate that. You're right. Yeah. But I mean, that's an obvious one. I think what you're seeing is a lot of commodity-driven products right now, and things that are feel necessary. Badges, lanyards, signage, things like that. So I think that's good stuff, and I think good for people to think about as they, how do I look at my business? How do I make sure my business continues through this very challenging time?
Well, I think it honestly it goes back from my perspective to our conversation. Was it last week? Was it the week before about the Swag Act? It's the reason that's irresponsible. because there are things in our industry that we use to communicate honest safety. They do real, honest, good work and keep people safe. And the idea of just outlawing that as a out of hand, I think, is irresponsible.
Yeah, well, and speaking of irresponsible, I may have been irresponsible the way I presented that last week, and I meant to tell you about this, so now's as good a time as any.
Okay.
I got an email from Ann Stone at PPAI, speaking of leadership, and she, apparently the language has been changed in that bill that's very favorable to our industry, from what I understand. I don't know all the details, so I'm just saying I may have gone off half-cocked, as it were.
Well, for what it's worth, I mean, I was probably more angry about it. But what I would say about that, to our defense, is, I'm sure that the evolution of that bill is going to get more, but it's a thing that keeps coming up.
No, I agree. And
so forgive my intensity of my disdain for this conversation.
And in our defense as well, I think that happened after we recorded the changes to the bill, or at least the publicizing of that. So so speaking of people who are awesome, though, that'd be our good friends at Tervis.
Nice.
You like that?
That's good.
You know, everybody knows about Tervis. Everybody loves some self-service. You know, they have that classic line. We've talked about that classic line, but I'm going to talk about the stainless line. I'm actually holding one in my grubby little Billy hands right now. They added that stainless line about 2 years ago with the goal of being better than the competition by utilizing state-of-the-art custom 360-degree UV printing. And if you're watching us on the show, you can see that. Look at that, 360 degrees. That means all the way around. That means a full circle, people. That's right. I did go back to college and finish. Anyway, it's available in 4 sizes, 12, 20. I got the 30-ounce here, the 24-ounce water bottle, 5-year guarantee. It's copper-lined, vacuum-insulated, 8 hours hot, 24 hours cold. You can't go wrong with a great brand like Tervis.
Awesome.
So if you're interested in learning more, and you should be, head over to tervispromos.com. Kirby, you got a topic for us?
Yeah, so I'm curious. One of the things that I've been trying to do, obviously, we talked a little bit about being proactive in our business.
Yep.
Are you? One of the things, I actually wrote a blog post about this today, about there's so many things in our life that we have said, you know what, I'm just too busy to take that on right now.
Right.
And I have kind of looked in the mirror and said, wow, that's not an excuse anymore. So I know, like, if you see in the background, I've got my guitar out. So I'm trying to do some things that I haven't made the time for recently. Saying, busy's not an excuse anymore. So what do I want to do? Obviously, upping the content game is the business side, but from a personal side, I'm kind of looking behind me and saying, you know what, I want to get stronger in that. Yeah. What are there anything like that for you? Is there anything you're doing like that?
Great question. And there's a couple things. So number one, when I'm stressed, when I'm beaten up, or just feel like I just pent up. Maybe that's the word, not beaten up, pent up. When I'm just pent up, frustrated, and nervous and anxious, and all the things I think we all feel from time to time with what's going on. Man, I like to do physical labor. I do. Nice. And so Saturday, I cleaned out my garage, and I cleaned it out.
Nice.
I took every single thing out of there. I swept everything up, made it look nice. Of course, kids screwed it up within 12 seconds. That's okay. I like to clean, and so I like to do that stuff. I like to organize. So this weekend, I used to work from home. Now I work, I've been working in this office for the last 2.5 years. So the home office has kind of become this veritable dumping ground of paper. I am going to do that this weekend. I'm going to take every single thing out of there and reorganize it, reset it up the way I want it to be. So I do that, and then like you, I'm trying to play a little more guitar and things like that. It's hard right now because we have the puppy, so that's not an excuse. But get home and puppy needs attention. It's like having a baby again. So,
but you say this as we hear my puppy barking.
Yeah, I know. But so it's we all deal with stress differently. Like I said, in finding busy time, I will. And this leads actually right into my next topic. I might binge a TV show or something like that. Find something to do that way. So it just depends. But lately, it's been physical labor.
Cool. I like that. That's good.
All right, Kirby, speaking of my not-so-professional transition, because I called it out, I want to know what shows you're binge-watching right now, if anything. Now, before you answer, because I know you're going to need to think about this, you're not a huge binge-watchy guy. Man, if you're not watching Tiger King... If you're not watching Tiger King on Netflix and you're not understanding the awesomeness and weirdness and craziness that is Joe Exotic in this entire subculture that none of us even knew existed about people who have these private zoos, I'm telling you, it's a 7-part documentary series on Netflix. You will not be sorry you did.
Okay. Yeah, I have seen many posts about...
Joe Exotic.
Yeah, and I think the first picture was like him with a tiger or something. And
yeah, they're all him with a tiger, I think.
And my first reaction to that was, that looks stupid as hell, and I'll never watch that.
No, I'm telling you, just from an entertainment perspective, because it's a documentary, I mean, you couldn't write this shit that they go through. I mean, It is... Everything, it's all these twists and turns. I can't turn it off, man. I cannot turn it off. So that's one thing I've binged.
Okay.
I finished season 10 of Kirby and Enthusiasm, which I love that show. And it's pretty good, gotta say. And then the other thing I'm looking at, I go in for little quick hits because I love cooking, is a show on Netflix called Ugly Delicious.
Okay.
Great show. Just great show. Not worried about the plating and how beautiful it is. Just making really good food, and you know how much I love to cook and do things like that. So
I like it.
Any shows at all you're binge watching? Anything?
Yeah, this is a tough one for me.
I know.
But I mean, it's a great topic because, again, recently I actually went back. Everybody's told me, oh, you got to watch Breaking Bad, right?
Yeah, it's a tough one to get into. It's good, but it's tough to get into.
I watched the first episode. It's like, and it was really good. So it's not like, but I was like, I don't know that I'm spending the next however long of my life doing that. I really do still enjoy just a 1 or 2 deal documentary. I actually got sucked into the Aaron Hernandez one.
Yeah, that's good.
It was good, but I was so frustrated at the end of the first one. I'm like, seriously, there's another episode? I just wanted one.
Yeah, well,
that's where my brain is at. What's really changed in my consumption, though, to answer your question, is I'm spending a lot more time on YouTube.
Yeah.
And the reason I think that is because I spend a lot of time here in the office.
Yeah.
And in the evening when my lovely women in my life want to watch a show, one of the Chicago Med, Chicago Police, Chicago Fire, where all of them go.
Chicago Hallmark.
Yeah. Essentially all the people in that series have to talk like this.
Yeah.
And so I leave the room and then go try and find something on YouTube to watch. So that's
and really,
that's all that's changed.
Well, and I go down YouTube rabbit holes too. And I would suggest Googling or going down YouTube rabbit hole for Joe Exotic music videos. You cannot go wrong. I'm telling you, you've got to watch Tiger King. People, help me out. Support me. Kirby has to invest the time in Tiger King. You will not believe the craziness that goes on. I'm telling you, it's just amazing. Joe Exotic music videos. You're not going to be sorry you did.
Okay. All right.
Kirby, you have one last quick topic for us?
Yeah. So really quick, and I don't even know if this is a discussion, but here lately, I've been so struck by how small the world is.
Yes.
And I think I've noticed it in the context of the struggle, right? I had one of those moments. I'm like, that's it. I'm getting on a plane and I'm leaving. And I went, to where? Mm-hmm. Where do I go that this isn't a thing? And the answer is nowhere, right? But I think, you're seeing the better part of humanity too. And I think it's important to call that sort of thing out, where countries are sending supplies to other countries.
Right.
I think China sent some to Italy. To like those sort of shows of solidarity have given me pause and given me hope. And so I just wanted to kind of, it was one of my notes to say, I don't know what to do with that, but just I'm struck by how small the world is becoming.
Okay, so I can twist that a little bit. And I mentioned it yesterday on our live podcast, and since not sure we have the same exact audience and all that, so I'm going to repeat it, and that means I didn't put a lot of work into preparing for today's podcast. I think when things like this happen, for the most part, initially, you see the worst in people. Right. I think initially you see the selfishness, you see the weird toilet paper and paper towel and peanut
Right.
butter hoarding and all those weirdness things that we're all just kind of scratching our head like, what? I don't understand this at all. But then in a fairly short order, you start seeing the good in people.
Right.
The people who, an older couple who may be scared to go in the grocery store,
Yeah.
and someone buying their groceries for them. Or, I had a lady, I actually have right now, the only time I go to the grocery store is first thing in the morning, because that's really the only time you can get anything
Right.
that everybody else wants. And so I happened to go in. We're running a little low on toilet paper, and that was one of the things. And I got a 4-pack, and we're running low on paper towels. So I got a pack of that. I'm checking out, and a lady in her shopping cart, she probably about 65, 70, and she had a mask on and gloves. And she said, I accidentally left my toilet paper here. I think that's it. It wasn't. But I said, no, I actually bought this. And she goes, are you sure? And I'm like, you know what? Why don't you go and take this? And I had paid for it already. And I went to my car. And I think that brings hope. And that's not like, oh wow, Bill's such a great guy. I hope anybody would do that. And I don't not want or need a pat on the back. I just start thinking, you see the good in people. I see it in the grocery stores. People, get out of line to help someone old or may not, because our grocery stores have gone to completely self-service right now. And so self-service checkout. And so they may not be used to using the pin pad or understanding what to do there. Right. And people just stopping and helping there, or even just the little friendly waves. I think you're going to see more good in that. And that does shrink the world, that goodness, helping other people out. So now you see it on a country level. Hey, we've got masks. Maybe we're past our peak. We don't need these anymore, but we're worried about you guys. And obviously there's probably an economic factor that factors into that because it's a global economy, but still, it's good.
Well, the reality of it is, I mean, you kind of said, I don't need a pat on the back. I think the lesson there, though, is that there are tons of opportunities to do good.
Yes.
If you look for them, they present themselves pretty easily. And, you know, so I think that's awesome, dude.
Yeah, no, I think it's really good stuff. So, Kirby, why don't we kind of start wrapping this up? I think we're now at the time of the promo person of the week. We talk about it every week, the person dedicated to highlight or dedicated to highlight that one person who's grabbing our attention in industry. And Kirby and I actually, we have the spreadsheet where we keep track of who we've, I don't know if it's an honor, but who we've mentioned as promo person of the week. And we try not to do repeat, but gosh darn it, we're repeating this week, and I just don't care. The promo person of the week this week has to be Paul Bellantone, and you kind of stole my thunder a little earlier, which is totally fine. His leadership from an industry perspective has been nothing short of inspiring.
Yeah.
They had to make very tough decisions. Lead is not going to happen. I'm personally very bummed by that. I get to go to Lead every year. It's an honor to go walk the halls of Congress and do that. I'm crestfallen that that's not going to happen, but I understand why.
Yeah.
Bigger fish to fry in Congress right now and on Capitol Hill. Spark is not going to happen. They may do something at the event at Expo, and so they're having to make very hard decisions on in Promotional Products Work Week, which I know is going to kick off in Coshocton, is now I think pushed to October 5th, if memory serves me correctly.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
It was going to happen in May. He's having to make hard decisions, and it's not just about making hard decisions. That's one aspect of leadership.
Right.
The other part of that is communicating it, and communicating it with such a degree of empathy.
Right.
Paul, I know Paul, he's a friend. Paul does not love public speaking. You never know it because he's so good at it. He doesn't like it. So I can't imagine how his stomach churns as he looks at a little camera for 8.5 minutes and has to explain or chooses to explain all these things, but he does it in such an emotionally connecting way.
Yeah.
It makes you feel like, you know what, it sucks, but we're going to be okay.
Yes.
And so hats off to you, Paul. I'm not going to take my hat off because I didn't do my hair today. But hats off to you, Paul. I don't know if you want to add anything, Kirby, or, I don't know if I've...
No, I mean, again, I think that's the perfect choice. And again, everything I've said earlier, and you and I have talked privately about this, is what leadership is supposed to look like.
Yeah.
And we both know Paul and respect him anyway. And then seeing it's just one of those moments where you're like, man, I'm glad that guy's in charge.
Yeah, no
kidding.
kidding.
So, kudos, great choice.
Yeah. So No high fives. Actually, they have to be virtual these days. So a virtual high five. Yeah, well, that's weird. I'm sorry. I don't like the elbow.
I agree.
I'd rather just kind of wave and go, hey, how's it going? Good to see you. Don't touch. All right, Kirby. So now we are at the time of the podcast we have called Dealer's Choice.
Yes.
Can be anything you want.
Yes.
Hit me with your best shot.
All right. Okay, so this is one that I think will be fun.
I'll be the judge of that.
Yes, you will.
Actually, our listeners will be the judge of that.
All right, are you going to shut up? Okay, so we are all in some level of quarantine, right? So if you had to be quarantined with 3 people in the promotional products industry, what 3 would they be? And I can go first because this is totally catching you off guard. I totally understand it, but I think it'll be fun. So what 3 people?
Am I allowed to speak, Kirby?
Yes, you are now.
Why don't you go first?
Okay. Okay, so I obviously had a little bit of time to think about this, but these are pretty much right off the top of my head. So, so the first one I'm going to throw out is my wife. She is in the industry. It's a little bit of a low-hanging fruit, but I wanted to kind of have a female in there because I think that we're going to skew toward the male end of this because otherwise we might think it's creepy.
Yeah.
But I'm going to throw my wife because I still like her. I'm going to go Dana Zezzo because if I'm quarantined, I want someone who can cook, who can find something to eat. So Dana Zezzo's my guy there. And then I want someone to help me entertain myself and whoever we're there with. And so I'm going David Schultz, play a little guitar. So Dana Zezzo, my wife, David Schultz.
Okay, so I'm making notes here. Again, I'm going the all male route for.
That's totally fine.
You know what?
Yep, totally
I don't need the virtual kick in the groin. So we're going that direction. The first one I came up with was Danny Rosen.
Yes.
Always has such a creative mind, and he just the way he thinks, it always inspires me to think differently. He always has a way of asking very difficult questions that I'm not prepared for, which makes me think, and I respect that. So I think endless conversation there.
That's a good one.
Plus, he has a running list of band names. So we could do that. I picked Aaron Couture from Gomiscu. I love Aaron. He cracks me up so much. He's always a very happy guy, but so mellow and chill. I think he'd lend a little bit of gravitas there. And then I'm going to go, I'm kind of torn between a couple people. I'm going to go John Norris. I'm going to go John Norris.
Popped on my head, too. That's a good one, yeah.
So, because I think he'd be like the professor on Gilligan's Island. I'm pretty sure he could make a radio out of a coconut.
Yeah.
And I'd kind of like to see him do that and go, well, blockchain, we're going to get blockchain out of the coconut. So I'm going to say Danny Rosen, Aaron Couture, and John Norris.
Well done, my friend.
That's a hard one. That's fun. This is why we call it Dealer's Choice, because he was the dealer. And it was his choice. But you know what you also have a choice on, Kirby?
Who's that, Bill?
There's really no choice when it comes to next level apparel. You just got to go there. You know, they've not reinvented the T-shirt. They've revolutionized it. And they've combined art and science to create the 1800 unisex ideal heavyweight tee. It's a tubular tee that offers elevated fit. It's made of that beautiful soft fabric you know and love so much. And the everyday function inspired by streetwear, skatewear, surfwear, and workwear. It's really the new benchmark in fit and function. You don't want to miss out on this T-shirt, guys. So head over to nextlevelapparel.com. You're not going to be sorry you did. Kirby, as always, a pleasure to do this podcast with you. Thank you for doing it from your basement. I don't know where I'm doing this podcast next week. I might be home. I might not. Who knows? So we'll just have to wait and see.
All right, buddy.
Thank you for listening to Unscripted with Kirby Hasseman and Bill Petrie. Unscripted is available every Friday at promocorner.com, the leader in digital marketing for the promotional products industry.